This podcast is presented by the Prince George's County Memorial Library System.
Hi, I'm Hawa.
I'm Hannah.
I'm Heather.
And I'm Darlene.
And this is our podcast, These Books Made Me. Today we're going to be talking about Brown Girl, Brownstones by Paule Marshall. Friendly warning as always, this podcast contains spoilers. If you don't yet know who smashes a poorly played trumpet, proceed with caution.
So was this everyone's first time reading this book? And if not, how did this compare to your memories of reading it when you were younger? Darlene, I think this was your suggestion.
It was my suggestion. And what's so funny is that last episode, we were trying to think of a spoiler, as we always do, and my mind drew a blank. And I was like, I don't remember any part of this book for some reason, but I remember the effect it had on me after reading it. And so I was like, this is a good book. I feel like we should read it. But then if you ask me anything about the plot, I wouldn't know. I think the reread definitely helped because I think when I first read it, it was probably one of those things. What I really enjoy about rereads is that you either it kind of confirms something you kind of knew about the book, or you kind of can look at it in a different way. And so I feel like it kind of did both. I think that maybe when I first read it, the reason why it resonated is because I could sort of access some of the experiences because it was a very common immigrant experience, but I didn't yet I don't know that I truly understood it. But I feel like this time around, maybe with more experiences and just talking to people around me more, I felt like this reread, I just had a much better understanding of it. So I'm really happy that I got to reread it because I don't think without this podcast that I would have willingly went into it, just because I do vaguely remember it being a really tough book to get through the first time around.
I don't even know what I'm looking for right now.
So for context, y'all, we're laughing because she said being a tough book to get through. I did not finish this book. I would like to eventually, and this was also my first time reading it, so I will definitely be spoiled. And so if you don't hear much of me, that's probably why. But I'm still looking forward to the conversation. And thank you for the recommendation, Darlene.
It was the hesitance to go up to the mic and be like, should I speak?
I wasn't sure if I should admit it, but yeah.
So I hadn't heard about this book until you suggested it, and I kind of feel like I should have heard about this book. It seems like a book after reading more about it that it's pretty significant in the literature canon. So I had certainly not read it, as well as not having heard of it. I think it's really beautifully written. It's a pretty sad, intense book. I think we were talking about that a little bit before we started recording. So it was kind of intense to get through. But I think it's there's a lot in there, and I think it's really significant and beautifully written, even though it's dark and sad and intense and important. So I'm glad we picked it, and I'm glad we're taking the time to discuss it.
I don't think I read this one before. If I did, I think I completely erased it somehow. So I think this was my first time reading this book. My first time reading this book. I don't think I was in the right headspace for this book at all. And I don't know if that is the time of my life that I'm in, the time of the world that we're in right now. Because I agree, it's really wonderfully written. It's a tour de force for the author. But it's so just unrelenting in its misery. There's just no joy or optimism anywhere in the book. And I thought several times while I was reading this of two books that I really love. A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, which we've covered on this podcast, which has so many similarities to this book, just top to bottom. There's so much in common with this book. But A Tree Grows in Brooklyn has a more optimistic ending. There's some joy in it. Not to say a happy ending necessarily, but certainly a less depressing ending than this book. The other book that I was reminded of was Wide Sargasso Sea, which is one of my all-time favorites as well.
Yeah.
But definitely also a depressing book that I feel like maybe if I read right now, I would not be in a good space to reread that book again. So I think it gave me some insight into where my head is right now, I guess, and like what I can handle. But yeah, boy, that's a tough one. And when you said that you kind of had forgotten a lot of it, just remembered that it had a really big impact on you, I can totally see that. Like, it would be hard to hang on to the details of this. But I think, walking away just thinking like, this is a really well-written book. And I think it should be like an important part of the canon, especially when you're looking at, Black authors in the U.S., but also I think multicultural literature that focuses on immigration, because I think this is really, it tells of a time, it tells of a place really well. I think it gives you a lot of context for an experience that would be hard to get out of a history book. Like this makes it a lot more visceral and real. It's just hard. It's just a hard book.
Yeah.
Brown Girl, Brownstones is a coming-of-age novel set in Brooklyn during the 1930s and 1940s. It centers on Selina Boyce, a young girl growing up in a Barbadian immigrant family, and explores the tensions between cultural heritage, personal ambition, and family expectations. Selina is the daughter of Silla, an indomitable woman who toils at multiple jobs to achieve her dreams of upward mobility and home ownership, and Deighton, a charming but lazy ne'er-do-well who spends thoughtlessly and chases one pipe dream after another, investing the bare minimum of work in each of his schemes to get rich. She has a sister, Ina, who is beautiful and compliant. The family lives in a brownstone rooming house with other tenants, including a dying old woman, Miss Mary, and a kind but hard-drinking prostitute named Shuggy Skeet. Selina is close to the other tenants and often ducks into their rooms for affection and escape from the tension in her household. Selina pushes hard against the expectations of her mother, who dreams of college and medical school for Selina. She resents Silla's ambition and hard edges and idolizes her father in spite of his cheating, failure as a provider, and constant dreaming of an easy life in Barbados. When her father receives notice that he's been bequeathed a house on the island, it sets into motion a series of events that bring the family to near ruin. Deighton talks endlessly about the white columned house they'll build in Barbados after he makes it big as a trumpet player, which seems extremely unlikely given that he can't really play the trumpet and has failed at all of his previous plans. Silla begins plotting to wrestle away the home in Barbados from Deighton and selling it so they can buy a home in New York. Silla succeeds after a year of letter writing and forgery, but upon receiving the $900, she is dependent on Deighton to cash the check. And cash the check he does, immediately spending every cent on frivolous clothing and an expensive trumpet. Silla's wrath is fearsome to behold, and the marriage is truly broken. Silla does end up securing funds from a loan shark to buy the home and tries to stand tall in spite of literally everyone in the neighborhood pitting her for Deighton's profligate ways. Deighton is maimed in a factory accident by trying to work a machine he has no training on, ironically, a machine that Silla is expert in because of her quiet studying of the other workers. Deighton is hospitalized for months and is a hollow shell of himself when he comes home until he finds peace in a local religious cult. He abandons the family to go work in the restaurant run by the cult after he learns Silla blames him for the death of their son. Once again, Silla's wrath is complete. With Deighton completely checked out of his role as a husband and father, Silla calls the police to inform them that Deighton is in the country illegally. They arrest him and deport him, and Deighton either jumps or falls overboard on the trip to Barbados. Selina begins college classes, though she is still unsure of what she wants to do, as she has essentially cut ties with her community in her grief. She attends one meeting of the Association for the Local Community from Barbados and storms out after telling them off. She literally runs into a man 10 years her senior, Clive. He's charming in a cynical way, and she ends up in a relationship with him. Silla tries to warn Selina about Clive, but it only makes her cling to him more and hide the relationship. After making plans to win a scholarship and run off with Clive using the funds, Selina finds out that Clive has no intention of leaving with her. Selina declines the scholarship, again sparking wrath from Silla, and their always tense relationship ruptures completely, but perhaps with some resigned understanding of each other, and Selina leaves to chart her own course.
Paule Marshall was born Valenza Pauline Burke in Brooklyn, New York on April 9th, 1929 to West Indian immigrants Adriana and Samuel Burke. They had come to the United States from Barbados 10 years prior. Adriana worked as a housekeeper, Samuel as a salesman and factory worker. Paule was a middle daughter with one sister and one brother. She visited Barbados at age 9 and returned to her parents' country of origin multiple times over the years. Paule's father, Samuel, left their family before she entered her teenage years in order to follow the Father Jealous Divine, the religious leader of a cult based in Harlem. Paule loved reading and language and used the public library to discover books by Zane Grey, Jane Austen, Charles Dickens, Zora Neale Hurston, William Makepeace Thackeray, and Paul Laurence Dunbar. She changed her name from Pauline to Paul, spelled Paule, but with a silent E. Adriana encouraged Paule to consider secretarial work for a career and noted that the telephone company had recently started hiring Black applicants. However, Paule was interested in pursuing writing and literature and studied European literature at Hunter College. Tuberculosis forced her to drop out of her studies for a year, but she returned to school at Brooklyn College and graduated in 1952. She found work as a writer and editor at Our World magazine and married Kenneth E. Marshall in 1957. They had one son, Evan Marshall, and would divorce in 1963. Marshall's first novel was Brown Girl, Brownstones, written at the age of 30, and it is often considered the beginning of contemporary Black women's writings. She knew and was mentored by Langston Hughes. Marshall married a second time to a man named Nori Menand and acquired a stepdaughter, although her second marriage would also end in divorce. Other works that Marshall produced include The Chosen Place, The Timeless People, Praise Song for the Widow, Daughters, and The Fisher King. Her list of accomplishments and accolades include a MacArthur Fellowship, a Guggenheim Fellowship, a Before Columbus Foundation's American Book Award, and a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Anisfield Wolf Book Awards. She also wrote a memoir entitled Triangular Road in 2009, in which she spoke about her tripartite self, consisting of womanness, Blackness, and Caribbeanness in America. Marshall experienced dementia in the last few years of her life and died August 12th, 2019 in Richmond, Virginia.
That's interesting. I mean, it did feel when reading it that she had to pull from, like, things she knew. So I didn't think it would be her actual father, but I thought maybe, like, definitely someone she knew, a family she knew, had someone that kind of fell on hard times, and then they found solace in a cult.
I mean, that scene that she wrote where she accompanies her father to Selina
cult meeting.
I'm like, this feels very drawn from life.
Yeah.
Maybe some details were changed, but it feels very, somebody sat in a room and went, what the heck is happening? This is terrifying.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because she is a child in that scene, and you would think a child is, like, really easily manipulated, but she's the only one in that room that's seen clearly. And, you know, it's obviously because the adults, for whatever reason that they found themselves in that cult, have gone through something. And, you know, as I want to say Clive says in the end, is like, sometimes you just, like, things just don't work out and you feel like you have to give yourself to something else, or like being led by someone else. But yeah, that's just how that scene, I guess, played out. But it was really interesting.
I mean, Deighton does seem like the kind of person that would join a cult, though.
For sure.
I do think we should do a deep dive into Father Divine. He maybe was born in Rockville.
Maryland?
What?
Yeah, so we could do a little PG room research because
that's fascinating.
The researcher that promotes that belief is basing that on census data. Earlier researchers supposed he was born most likely in Georgia as the son of sharecroppers. But the person that says he was born in Rockville seems to attach him to a name. He I guess, really distanced himself from giving any actual details about himself. So I think this could be very interesting.
Man,
but it definitely looks like she just lifted directly from his kind of nonsense.
so weird that it comes back to some local history.
All right. I mean, I guess we've kind of gotten into a discussion already about the book. Yeah, no, the cult is, I think, a really interesting part of this book. Another really big aspect of it is the West Indian, Barbadian, immigrant diaspora experience. And I do think that I don't know, to me, I also feel like there was a nice correlation sort of into the cult because, and like I said, Clive really puts it into perspective, I think, towards the end about how you kind of just want to seek community and kind of be led somewhere. And I feel like you come into a new country and you know absolutely no one, and then you're kind of forced to kind of really work hard and not really, and just have so much of your identity be a detracting force for upward mobility. So yeah, you either do something like join, create and then join the association, or you kind of give, it's so easy to give in to something like the cult. But did you guys have any specific thoughts about the diaspora experience as Marshall describes it in this book?
Well, I think it's interesting that you bring up not knowing people when they move here, because I think that is a feature of a lot of the other immigration stories that we've read. This one, it was interesting to me because there's a conversation that Silla, Flory, and Iris are having, I believe, in the kitchen that Selina is listening to. And of course, she gets irritated by because she is irritated by everything that her mother says. But they're talking about how insular the community is in terms of knowing people from back home. And so even things like relationships or marriages and stuff seem to be, well, he's okay because I knew his auntie back home or something like that. So maybe just because the size of Barbados is much smaller than some of the sizes of places that we've read about in some of the other immigration stories, I thought that was an interesting feature of things where there is still a network of, oh, we grew up together and now we're in New York together, or, yeah, we were play cousins, or I knew so-and-so's mama, so they're okay. And the association is sort of built on that as well. It's making those connections of the people from back home, and it's excluding the people who are also Black, at least initially. It's excluding people who are also Black but are not from the island, or who are not, at least recently, from the island, I guess, which I think is a different look than we've gotten in something like House on Mango Street, where there's more, it's a more mixed immigrant community where it's not necessarily that people know each other. And yes, there's a common language of Spanish, but there may not be any real concrete connection other than that. And so I thought that was an interesting feature of that. I also thought it was interesting that, Deighton really seemed to be longing for home always. Though, was he really longing for home, or was it just another escapist sort of? Because his whole life seems to be, oh, yeah, well, if I only can just do this, everything's going to be great.
Right.
If I was only here, everything would be great. If I finished this accounting class, I seriously have just zero patience for Deighton.
Yeah.
What a terrible, terrible husband and father he is. But so much of that element of things seems to be centered with him, whereas the rest of the community seems very much like we left home and we're going to make things better here. We're going to make this community for ourselves, and we're going to make a life for ourselves. And we're going to, there's a lot of ambitious people in this community. Even the association, it reminded me of some of the things I've read about the Chinese community in California and their establishment of banks. That's one of the things that the association really
Wants to
keys
do.
in on is like, we're going to develop our own banking system with credit for our people so that we're not getting ripped off. Though I thought it was funny that 6% was the like rip off.
Now,
I think people would be thrilled to get a 6% loan on most things from a loan shark these days.
Right.
But, back then that was viewed as like a predatory amount to charge somebody on their loan. And so I thought that was interesting as well. I learned a lot in this book, I think, about Barbados and sort of their diaspora, because that is not a community that I've really read about before.
Yeah.
Certainly we talk about like the Caribbean diaspora sort of writ large, but like really honing in on one specific community like this, I thought was a really interesting and like, for me, eye-opening read, because I just had zero familiarity with that experience or history. So that was really interesting.
No, I really, sorry. I'm going to try not to preface everything I say with, well, I haven't finished the book. So that was me getting that out. But I really actually liked that they had kind of touched on specifically the Barbadian immigrant experience, because like, I don't think I've ever come across anything like that. Like, even like the country of Barbados is not something, or the island of Barbados is not something that I was really familiar with until like Rihanna. So so like for this body of work to have had existed before even that, I think it's actually pretty interesting. And also, like, I always talk about my mom is from Sierra Leone and my dad is from Guinea in West Africa. And like, I don't think I've really come across any works of literature that kind of touch on those type of immigrant experiences as well. So I like when I read a book that touches on a place that maybe is like underrepresented when it comes to the immigrant experience, and I can still find like similarities in like their experience and maybe like what my parents experienced, especially with like we know these people from back home, so like we're all here now, so it's like, oh, we're family, like this is my cousin, this is my aunt, like I got hella aunts and uncles that, how are y'all related? I don't know, my parents know them from back home, or they know each other's families, or this. One thing that I thought was funny was when I think Deighton was trying to get ready to go out for the night, and like Shuggy was making codfish, and he's like, I want my clothes to smell like the fish, and I'm like, that's just such a like experience of like, dang, my mom's always like, girl, I'm cooking, you might want to make sure you get your clothes out, or just step out, or take some perfume with you before you go out, and I'm like, I felt that.
Yeah, but specifically, he says because it marks him as a foreigner,
yes,
right? Yeah. Similarly, I mean, like I look to this and I try to relate it to what I do know. And similarly, like my parents come from El Salvador, which is also a really small country. And it seems like they kind of, like that Salvadoran community seems to have found each other in like small pockets in the U.S. So I know LA has a really big population of Salvadorans. So does Texas. And then kind of an anomaly to me is the DMV area. So it is really interesting because it is that way. Like, it seems like you could bring someone up and then they'll be like, oh, I know that person's family, like my cousin's like husband, or, like it's always something like removed, but they just happen to know because it's such a like insular community. So yeah, I did really enjoy, being able to access their experience in that way. The other thing that I thought was really interesting that Paul kind of touched on was how each immigrant community seemed to model themselves a little bit after their predecessors, right? Because there was like an immigrant community in the Brownstones, and then they moved on, right? They like moved on up, and that's sort of like
they went to Crown Heights, and then
and so then it just became like a kind of like a ladder, like a it modeled for them like what their next step was going to be, and I thought that was really interesting because that's an experience that I wouldn't really know much about. And it was just really interesting to kind of see that and have it be discussed in the way that it was. And that's why I was like, yeah, it'd be really interesting to have a deep dive into all the different like immigration waves in New York, especially because I feel like that is a really like well-known hub for immigration. Yeah. Migration's such a wonderful thing. So annoying to see. I feel like annoying is kind of like a trite way to say it, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just really frustrating to like know that there are people out there that think about it as like such a negative thing. But yeah.
It's unfortunate. And also they're just racists.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, this book really shows like how like a community can do that even within themselves, because once you've established an in-group, there always seems to be an out-group. Even if they had the same immigrant experience, they'll be really quick to mark themselves as different than someone else, right? Because it's their ambition that they're like, oh, well, we're ambitious. We have all these things that we want to do. And then they'll like call someone else like lazy, and like they don't really like embody like the American dream. Like they don't deserve to move up in the way that we do. There's always like that sort of continuing tension.
Or like if I could do it, why can't you at this point?
I
Like,
did it the hard way.
the hard way,
Yeah. No, that's definitely true. You see that multiple times in the book, like the divisions within the community where, and some of that's based on skin color. Like there's certainly, we see a lot of colorism in the book, you know, and that's across the spectrum. Like sometimes it's the old folks that have been there for a while, like Beryl's dad, and, you know, being kind of proud or trading on their being lighter skinned. But then you see it sort of in trickle down as well, because there's this like expectation that, you know, like Ina, for example, the boy that she ends up getting engaged to, Edwin, I believe, he's not from Barbados, but they're going to like be okay with that because he's fairly light skinned. And so there's a pretty horrible line in there where it was like, I think Selina said something that like, she's not going to make darker babies or something with him. And so, yeah, he's not ideal because he's not from back home or the child of somebody from back home. But as far as it goes, like if you have to be with a Black American, it's good that he's, you know, lighter skinned. And of course, there's a lot of color references and descriptions of people in the books, you know, referring to one person as more yellow, referring to as that red woman, so-and-so. And so, like, color is very at the forefront, even in that small community, and does seem to make, like, a dividing line in terms of ambition and what's expected of people.
Even from when they're kids, because, like, when Selina is outside playing with Iris, I know... Not Iris, sorry. When Selina's outside playing with
Beryl.
I was about to say Berwin. Beryl. She's outside playing with Beryl, and Beryl's like, yeah, my mom says I'm getting dark from running around with you in the sun. Let's go find some shade. And I'm just like, dang.
Yeah.
And I know that's a common thing that people say to their kids, but it's still just like, dang, like it really starts really young.
Yeah, I was just remembering that part.
Yeah. See, look at me contributing.
Yeah. Well, and then I think also, Darlene, what you said about the ambition and like what people are striving for in the community differing as well. And so like, yeah, Beryl's dad is like, he wants to be a politician, and he's, you know, he's formed this association and he has this real clout in the community. And, you know, they're one of the first families to kind of move on and move up. And then home ownership seems to be a real dividing line where like, if you've done that, you've kind of made it. Like Silla talks about how like, well, they just bought it going to the loan shark, but it still kind of makes them better than me. Like, and the, you know, generally I think everyone knows Deighton's no good, right?
Yeah.
Like he has zero ambition that makes any sense. I mean, he certainly like has all these pipe dreams, but like none of those things can actually happen, and everybody knows it.
Even the kids.
Yeah. Like, and so I think while the community sort of recognizes like, oh, he's handsome and charming, they're like, nah, he's no good. Like, and that's too bad for Silla because she's a hardworking woman that gets it. You know, like she does have ambition. She's going to try to buy a house and he's holding her back. Yeah, I think it is interesting, those divisions within the community. Like the weddings, that is another funny thing.
Oh my God, yeah.
Gaitha has this ginormous wedding for her daughter.
Oh, it was Gaitha? In my head, I thought it was Gatha or something.
Agatha.
They pronounced it Gaitha in the audiobook, but that could be wrong because short for Agatha would make a lot more sense.
Yeah, but that pronunciation sounds better because I was like, in my head, I kept saying Gatha. And I was like, that sounds weird.
Yeah.
Or like it doesn't roll off the tongue, rather. Yeah.
But like her daughter, that poor girl who seemed so miserable at her own wedding. But, you know,
so sad.
You know, she's going to have this huge, like, to impress the community. It's like, no, you have to show out for this because that is part of your status in the community. And you're like the well-off person in the community. You've got to make this like the biggest thing. But then they're at the party and at the reception, I don't remember if it was Flory or Iris, but one of them's like, she didn't even get any rice and peas. She didn't even have this. She's here with her like chicken and mashed potatoes kind of thing. And she didn't even have any good food.
Everyone's a critic.
Yeah.
Well, yes, they are. But then Selina makes the observation that like, but they were all impressed.
Yeah.
And so like, yeah, they're going to say all of that to sort of cut it down so they're not feeling bad that they can't provide that. Like they say like, you know, she's just trying to be white kind of thing. But at the same time, they are envious of like that she's able to afford all of these things and these dresses and like the whole nine yards.
Yeah, I love that Paul does that through Selina's eyes, that observation, because I do think there's so much context that you miss out if you're not part of a community. And so like if it was just that dialogue, then yes, you would think she was just being judgmental and that was it. But not that it was tinged with any sort of jealousy, but it's like Selina being part of that community knows exactly kind of like outwardly this is what you're saying, but like this is kind of the underlying message behind that. And I also, like she's so perceptive, you know, despite being so young, because she also clocked that it was more for the mother. And then she was even saying like same thing for her own mother. She's like, really, this is like a tour. Like she's going around to the community and she's being upheld, and like that her father, Deighton, like everyone is like speaking negatively of him. And it's sort of this like, it's like all a show, really. And then at some point, Silla does get kind of tired of the performance of it.
Yeah, because every person is like, man, we're really sorry Dayton's such a loser.
Yeah.
Like,
and at some point, there's like a longing for like,
I wish I was here with my husband.
I wish he was
such
supportive.
a loser. Yeah, it sucks.
Like,
you know,
thanks for reminding me at every point.
It's so awkward that because I think they're all wearing like the dresses that he wasted the money on.
Yeah.
And I guess I guess they have them.
what can you do with them
you know,
now?
They might as well wear them. But like, what are like a sort of a stab
Also, just like a signifier
to wear them.
Yeah,
and,
you're
and
wearing your
everybody
shame.
like see them and know that where they came from. And I don't think they even. I mean,
because they can't afford something that nice.
They're wearing
otherwise.
the reminders of, you know, the thing that happened that apparently everybody in the community also knows about.
I love that.
So
like just like
uncomfortable.
any rumor, it like increases. It's like he spent almost $1,000. I heard he spent
$2,000.
Yeah. Going back, I did want to say
10 trumpets.
I dislike Beryl's dad because, like, I think at some point later on, Beryl's like, yeah, I don't know if I want to be a lawyer or a doctor, and Selina's like, well, what do you want to be? Because every time you start something, it's my dad said, and he said like. Yes, like being a doctor is respectable, but also being a lawyer, like I guess will keep you employed because your people will always need you, or like your people will always keep you employed. And it almost made it seem like you can exploit your own people. Well, that's how I took it.
But that comes out multiple times in the book. Like Silla's really straightforward about that because Selina's so mad about, you know, the whole idea of sort of coming up on the back of the rooming house people and whatnot, and that's not okay. Like, and Silla sort of takes two arguments. One that like, well, they're not really our people. They're just also black, is sort of her stance on why it's okay to like be yelling at them all the time once she has more people move in when Mary dies and when she has her evicted, and that somehow makes it okay. But also she's kind of saying like no one gets anywhere unless they've sort of stepped on the backs of others. Like either you're doing the stepping or you're getting stepped on. And Selina's mad about that. But like at the same time, Selina kind of does that too. I mean, Selina's so like her mother. Like, I know they say, oh, she's Deighton's daughter because of her looks, but her core, she and Silla are so similar in a lot of ways, and it's why they just can't ever get along. I just felt bad for Silla. I know she's problematic too. She is not a loving mother. She is, she is just hard-edged, but she works so hard. I mean, it's the same thing we see with Katie Nolan in A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, though I think Katie retains a little bit more softness than Silla, and I think that she does try to make some moments of joy for her children where Silla really doesn't. But that poor woman, like, Deighton is worthless. Like, we don't see him contribute in any meaningful way at any time. He's a he-whore.
I was about to say, I was literally going to say, I'm like, you out there, you're not making no money,
say that
and you out there being a whore, like a he-whore.
Yeah. And like you said, it's really hard. Like, it's really, I think Paul did a really good job of making her, there are many unlikable qualities to her, but then she's also really complex, and you have a lot of compassion for her because you know the life she lived. And I think there's like this thing within Selina that she is like, I almost can understand her, but I can't quite understand her, and it's because she's never really had to deal with the exact level of like hardship that her mom has, right? Because with every generation, ideally things are getting a little bit easier, and so you don't have to make those like really difficult choices.
But then Selina does.
Yeah.
So that's the thing I want to ask y'all about, because Selina does at times kind of drift into an understanding on some level of her mom, but there is never any grace given or any forgiveness that I see.
It's so
and
strange.
Selina does the same thing. Like, her going after that scholarship from the association because she wants to run off with the guy, like, that's a shitty thing to do.
Yeah.
Right? Like, she has no intention of using the money for what it's for. So she's going to rip off her whole community, which she's furious at Silla about doing that with the roomers and like charging them too much or like being too hard on them. But then she's going to do the exact same thing. Why? Because it's what she wants. Right. And like, that's not even a good thing to get. Like, that's not even for others. It's just for her because she wants to be with Clive.
Yeah. And also because she almost like doesn't have the same compassion for them. It's almost like she's already established in her mind that they're not good people, that all of them have stepped on someone else and they're all followers and all of these so they deserve it, whereas she got to really know the people that were boarding in the house, and so she has that sense of compassion for them. And also, like, none of them are in a good position in life, so there isn't like they already have enough. It's like she's seeing them for like, wow, you have nothing except this house, like you barely have a community, and so it's just easier for her to have compassion for them. Yeah.
And she's full of forgiveness for Deighton.
I know.
Of all people.
Yeah, I know.
And it's like, it's so weird because it's like she recognizes, like the same thing with her mom. She like recognizes many things about her. She even respects her to some extent as well. But it's like it never crosses into like a full understanding or like a full like embrace of her mother. But with Deighton, she also recognizes like kind of his recklessness, like the way that he is maybe falling short in how he like shows his love for his family and how much he provides for his family. But yeah, I think because he's so sympathetic, right? Like he can't help himself that he's a dreamer. So she feels like she can
the hook for that. And
then he dies, unexpectedly. And so then he's canonized as like, well, he just tried his best.
And she blames Silla for it.
Right.
And like, yes, Silla did call to get him deported from the cult place, which maybe that wasn't great. But like, at the same time, he has completely abandoned their family. He's contributing nothing. The only thing that's happening at that point is he's basically... He has Selina going on the regular to just sit there at the restaurant, so he's still pulling her away from Silla. and from her community in this weird way. I mean, it crossed the line to call the police on him, probably, like, just let him go. But at the same time, she didn't make him jump off the boat. And I think we are meant to believe that he jumped, right?
Yeah, I think even Selina feels that way. It was either her or something about the narration made it seem like that was what it was. That, it was Shuggy that feels like that's probably what happened. Because she said something like, it's the same reason your father probably jumped off the boat, because he wouldn't be able to face the criticism and the rumors and everything, like people talking when he got home. And she's like, that's the reason why I wouldn't go back home. So I think, my understanding is that he jumped.
Yeah, and the going home was always a pipe dream too, right?
Yeah.
Like it was just romanticizing the thing that the place you're not, right? And he never ever gets satisfied with where he is. And Silla doesn't either, I guess, in certain ways. But, like, she's trying to do better for her kids and stuff. Like, they do have a hard life. And so her life is hard. Deighton's really isn't, because someone else is putting the food on the table. Someone else is making the money that he's then taking to
Buy
spend
silk
on his
undershirts,
concubines, or his silk undergarments. Hated that guy.
Seriously.
Just the worst.
I mean, it's hard to cope with the fact that he literally told Selina not to call him daddy at breakfast because
he's brother.
Because he's Brother Boyce. There's only one father, or whatever he said.
Brother,
Oh, brother.
Yeah, no, that was bananas.
That was
and then Silla's like, who are they supposed to call daddy then?
She was like, Daddy, can you please pass the butter? He's like, don't call me daddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, this is your daughter. What are you doing?
And the cult thing, I wondered too, did you all get the impression that some of that, like, Deighton is fundamentally very childish and impulsive, and, like, he doesn't behave like he's grown in any way. It's like how you would expect, like, a teen boy to act. Like, he cares about women and fast cars and, like, fancy clothes.
And he's
shirts.
very, like, obsessed with the idea of manhood and how that's presented, and, like, how easy it is for, like, younger people to access or something. I don't know.
Which is crazy
But
for
I
a
felt
man
like
who
he
wasn't
kept,
providing.
Yeah, he kept bringing up manhood. And I'm like, yeah,
You're
interesting.
not acting like a man.
Yeah.
But, like, with the cult, he just found a different place that sort of dealt with that for him. Like, he is being treated like a child there, right? Someone else is, like, telling him what to do, but they're doing it in this way of, like, but you'll get all these good things if you do this, versus Silla, who goes at him as, like, I need you to do X, Y, Z because it's catastrophic if you don't. And then he's just like, screw you, I'm going to do what I want. But the cult, because it's kind of like feeding into that sort of pipe dream mentality, he's compliant with them and, like,
I think
goes along like a kid.
I think his despair, manifested into, like, daydreams and pipe dreams. Not that it excuses it, but I think that's
But
just
why
where it
was
took
he
him.
so despairing before he maimed his arm, which was also his own fault? Like, what was so bad?
I mean, I know he talked about he talked about wanting to, like, show up for a job and to be treated with the respect that, like, a white man would be treated. I'm sure that.
So
I mean,
you're
I think
saying
it's
the
I think it's
despondency was about
multifactorial.
racism. What you were saying about him being so obsessed with manhood, I thought this book, much like A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, gave really interesting depictions of womanhood and sexuality. Like, this was a really interesting book from, we have the whole thing with Selina not having started her period yet, and Beryl gets it. But there's a lot of, like, romanticizing sort of the mythos of, like, coming into yourself with womanhood.
And you get I think she said something that made it seem like you get, like, your body or something like that, like your grown woman body, essentially.
Yeah.
Is kind of what she made it seem like. I was like, okay.
And then if you don't get it by 20, you die.
You die.
And Selena was like, I'm never going to do that. I'm like, that's very relatable, Selena.
Yeah.
And, like, on sexuality, so we, again, the we have different depictions of, you've got Shuggy, who is a prostitute. I mean, I know she kind of like...
And her first time was at 12, right?
Yeah, but she presents that as like consensual on her part. She was like, I have feelings and I was going to, get with this boy. I mean, she didn't say it was an adult or anything, but like, she just says that she runs hot and that like that's how she is. So she's very much like Sissy in Tree Grows in Brooklyn, though Sissy is not, a prostitute technically, I guess. She's more like a kept woman. But
who
she
worked
also
at a condom factory and
works at a
scandalized everybody.
How convenient.
But it is that same sort of like really free and easy with their sexuality and their femininity. And Selina, I think, in a lot of ways, romanticizes that about Shuggy. I mean, I think she doesn't really, I don't know, I wouldn't say that she doesn't judge her like Silla does, because she does kind of judge her. But at the same time, she also admires like how good she smells and how like in touch with her body she is, and the way she looks and the way she moves, and the way that she relates to the men that she brings up to her room. But then we also have Selina loses her virginity in the scene with Clive on a park bench.
Yeah.
Which
That sounds really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
but she's cool with it. Like she has herself a time, I guess. Like, wouldn't be my pick of the place that you have your first time with anybody. But yeah, on a park bench. I guess they didn't have anywhere else to go. But she's sort of the initiator with that. Like, he's not pushing. And then I think he says something like, this wasn't really my plan, like I wasn't trying to take advantage here. So she ends up being pretty in touch with her own body too. And then her schoolmate, who also was pretty young, I think, when she was talking about, oh yeah, me and the boy, like, yep, my parents left it. Well, one thing led to another, and yep, there we go.
We were basically engaged.
Yeah. It's like just without the ring.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're like 14.
Yeah. He's like, we're basically engaged, so he said it's okay. And I'm like, I bet he did.
You're like, yeah, that seems like something that might be said if he wants you to do something.
Yeah. And then you also have Silla, where she also, I think, is very in touch with her body and her sexuality and her yearning. But she regrets that she went to bed with Deighton again when things were so bad. And she was like, I let him trick me, basically. And that was before he took he stole the money. And she regrets that for the rest of the book. Like,
I'm so
that
sorry.
was really hard, like, of a passage too, because it was kind of like, because she didn't yet know like exactly what he had done, and
but she
was
knew
like,
it was bad because he wasn't coming home, and he should have been home already, and why isn't he home? And so I think she was thinking he ran off with the money. Like, he's never, I think she says he's never coming home. And the girls are trying to convince her, like, yeah, he is. Honestly, you should have just stayed gone. It would have been better if you took the money and left, Deighton, because...
Yeah, to come back that way and to like kind of throw it in her face in the way that he did.
Yeah. He was taunting her with it, which was just...
That was a hard scene.
And like, no, I guess she shouldn't have like forged all of this stuff and taken the house money. But like, seriously, he owed his family that after all of his years of not providing and not contributing and taking their money that she made, like...
His plan wasn't a good plan. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I was gonna say, just for her to end up having to go to a loan shark anyway, it's like, dang, she could have just did that from jump.
Yeah. And I mean, like, it's so hard because she knew, like, she's known him for so long. Like, she knew that they were never going to go back to Barbados and, like, actually utilize that land. Like,
no, she knew it was another pipe dream that he had.
So it was like, are we really going to sit on this when we are here? And, like, we should focus on the here and now. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they certainly were not working together the way a married couple should.
No, it's a real toxic relationship.
Yeah.
It's hard because generationally, like, you come to a new country, things are really difficult. things really are pretty black and white. It's do or don't. And when you do, like, then you have children and they have it a little easier because you're kind of establishing things for them. And so, yeah, they have all this time to like get an education and think. And so, yeah, then there's that sort of disconnect now. Like, I don't know how to relate to someone that is so black and white, that is so like, it's either us or them, you know, like, versus someone that can like sit, think, empathize. So, yeah, the tension between them to me felt like very real to like how an immigrant experience would be with like first generation. I guess the mom wouldn't be first generation. Like, I think, is it considered like 0.5? And then I don't know if Selina was born in Barbados or was she born
No, I think she was born in New York because I think Silla came when she was 18, she said.
Right.
Yeah, I think she and her deceased brother and sister were all born there. I think it was, I think the family is, I think, a pretty perfect mirror almost of the author's family.
Yeah, so she's like first generation. So, yeah, just growing up in a different culture and kind of picking up different things and just like that kind of moving you a little bit further away from like an understanding of your parents really, did make sense. But it was just, I also thought the tension between them was really interesting because it's like, it is very specific to an immigrant experience, but then it's so reminiscent of like other like fraught mother-daughter relationships that I guess we've probably either seen or read about. Because I'm thinking of like, whose else was pretty fraught? I mean, how the Garcia girls lost their accents. That kind of had a similar thing of like kind of going back home to kind of find your identity. And then...
Yeah, because Yo does that, at the beginning, which is really the end.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking of like Lady Bird and, oh my God, Real Women Have Curves. There's just like a lot of like fraught relationships between mothers and daughters. And it's always like a generational thing. Joy Luck Club. Yeah, just very generational of like, you're of a generation that kind of like has to like basically set a foundation. And then the other one is like, well, I'm bearing fruit to your foundation. And now I'm judging you and resenting you for certain things that you want for me because I'm my own person. I don't know.
Well, and Selina's so black and white too. And so, you know, she is very not in the shades of gray. She's like, my mom is bad. My dad is good.
That's true.
Like the association, people are bad. Like people who aren't in the association but are also black are good. Like the tenants are good. My mom is bad. Like there's just...
I guess I see a bit more of a shift on her than I do in Silla. So it's almost like each generation, it's like you're kind of like moving a little bit more center.
Silla digs in. I mean, I think Silla gets progressively worse as the book goes with being entrenched in her anger.
Yeah.
But I also understand why. Like, Deighton he ruins things. Like, time and again, he ruins things. And she's left to, like, try to fix it and pick up the pieces. And every time she tries, he ruins it again. And then he dies, and she does have guilt over that. And that's why when Selina is blaming her for it, like, it lands the same way that when she blames Deighton for the son dying, it lands because there is guilt there. Yeah, I don't know. They're just so similar to each other personality-wise that it's hard to read it where they're just kind of always going at each other because it's like, gosh, just find some understanding for each other here because you are really similar people.
I know.
And you just can't.
Yeah.
Oh, you know who it kind of actually Poet X when you said that, like that, the mother-daughter relationship there. There's a lot of similarities like to what you're saying with the mom is trying to hang on and cling and like make things good for her kids, but they're just like, X is like buckling, like Xiomara's like, no, I got to live my own life. You don't understand me. And
Yeah, and I think the other thing that comes up in this one and is said more explicitly is that sort of possessiveness that the mother then has over the child and like feeling like everything else is getting in the way of you like finally being hers, right?
Yeah.
So there's after Selina confronts her about, but you know, like essentially what she did leading to Deighton's death, like holding her and then saying like it felt like Silla was sort of in that moment establishing like a possessiveness over her, like you're finally mine, because it kind of did feel like there was some sort of competition with the dad over her affection, over Selina's affection.
But then she had that same issue with, I think, jealousy towards Mary and Shuggy.
Yeah.
Because she's like, why are you always going to them? Like, why do you go sit with them and talk to them and you won't, like, do that with me? And, yeah. And so then she gets them out of the picture. And obviously Selina still doesn't connect to her. So...
Yeah, I know you said that maybe you don't think that there is really a happy ending, but I do think that her breaking off with Clive is sort of...
yeah, I guess that's good. I mean, that was a good choice.
Yeah, it almost felt like it could have, like he could have been her Deighton. And so, I mean, granted a more thoughtful one, like someone that like is a bit more self-aware, and I don't know, like...
Clive was just kind of an edgelord. Like, he's just kind of the guy that's just going to be no fun, because he's always going to be like, oh, yeah, they're just doing that because of this reason. Or like people are just like, he
like,
just would have been a downer, which is, you know, that kind of older person with that vibe is cool, I guess, when you're a teenager and you don't see through that. But it's not a good...
Probably seems very sophisticated when you're, you know, a teenager.
Yeah.
I don't know, though, what is happening to her at the end. I mean, she's not with Clive because he broke her heart, I guess, because he was never planning to go anywhere with her. She also doesn't have the money because she didn't take it. She did tell the association, I was just conning you guys. But then she's still kind of like, screw y'all, and then like leaves, you know, like she still doesn't have that connection.
I thought it was going to be that, like, she joins the association and then she realizes that she kind of really does want that community. And it almost seemed like that's where it was kind of going.
And then it doesn't.
And then, and a book that I kept comparing it to as I was reading was How the Garcia Girls Lost Their Accents. And so when she, at the end, goes to Barbados, I was like, oh, it's kind of like Yo at the beginning of How the Garcia Girls Lost Their Accents, kind of going back to Dominican Republic and trying to find her identity that way. But Yo has family back there.
She has a connection. They've gone. Like, she's been there recently, like as a teenager and stuff. And there's zero connection for Selina.
Yeah.
So it's like, what's the plan here?
Yeah.
You're going to go to this island where you don't know anybody and what?
Yeah.
Like,
she's going off vibes.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt like the end was like, I'm going to fulfill my dad's dream now. And it's like, no, you're not, because that was always a lie. Like,
like, I feel like, you know, he jumped off because he didn't actually want to go back. But then maybe she thinks like, oh, well, he didn't want to do that because he hadn't really established himself. So like, he did want to go back just as a bigger person, as like someone that would be respected when he got there, and that's not what he was going back as.
He wanted to be a big sportsman, is what Silla always said.
Yeah, it was.
You're just trying to be a big sportsman with your car and your
I found myself like wanting a glossary. I mean, you could figure out.
Yeah, because
like,
I wanted to know like
context,
what exactly is the context of Beautiful Ugly.
Yeah,
like,
I was.
Where did that come
too.
from, and like, what are you trying to convey with it? Because I was like, I feel like it was just used for like handsome, but then I was like,
I thought she was saying like you're pretty on the outside but ugly on the inside.
There was some like just like rich like phrasing in there, like some of which I got, and some of which was like I need to like
I
look
wanted
into
to
this
know
a little
what
more.
the C in Sadir stood for. Like, because I thought initially when I was listening rather than reading that it was like S apostrophe dear, like so dear, you know, that it was like that. But it's C apostrophe once you're reading it. And I was like, what does the C stand for? Like, what's being truncated? I never figured that out.
So from BarbadosPocketGuide.com, they have a dictionary of Bajan dialect phrases. And one of them on here says, Kadir. So it says CUH-dear. It says the meaning is poor fellow, show of empathy in someone.
All right. So that was a really nice discussion on this book. Do you feel like it holds up, and would you recommend this book?
Yes and yes, but boy, I would really caution somebody, like, it's heavy. You know,
Yeah.
I don't think this would be one where if somebody asked for a beach read, I'd be like, have you read this one? Because that does not, you would have to be looking for something where you could handle, like, the emotional heft of it.
Mm-hmm. Unless this is a person who's like, I like to read War and Peace and other, like, really dense, heavy, intense books on the beach. 'Cause there is an occasional person who does it, but yeah, it's not your average beach read.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think I'd also, like, mention probably my experience with it of, like, you may read it once and, like, maybe gain something from it, but not truly understand until maybe, like, another reread a few years later. Yeah. Because I feel like this book is so densely packed with so many themes and so many things that maybe at a certain age you won't get all of the context, and you probably need just a few more years of life to, like, understand some parts of it. So, yeah.
Yeah, this one, I don't know that I would necessarily recommend this to anyone pre-college. Like, I do feel like it's heavy and it's complex. Yeah.
You know, despite knowing the whole book and how it all ends, I still want to go back and finish it. So,
Oh, you should.
Yeah,
I mean,
like-
it's a very worthwhile read. It's just hard.
yeah. And she writes beautifully, which also makes it, like, not hard to read, but hard to, like, read in a time crunch.
Yeah, it's not a popcorn book.
No, there's really dense dialogue that's totally believable.
Yeah.
Like, she has a real ear for how people talk to each other. But there's also just really beautiful prose in there, too. Like, her descriptions of things are fabulous.
Just, like, this sense of, like, of every character she talks about. Like, I mean, down to, like, Selina sitting there in the wedding feeling uncomfortable because she doesn't like the color of her dress and the childish bow, and she's feeling too old to play with the kids but too young to be, like, with the older, more womanly people. To, like, every character and their struggles and their dreams and their worries and their thought, like, it's just, everything is just so well drawn.
All right. Each episode, we ask whether our book passes the Bechdel test. The Bechdel test asks whether a work features two female characters who talk to each other about something that doesn't involve men or boys. Do we think it passes?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so, too.
Yeah, like, multiple times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think even just her conversations with the other tenants and, like, talking about her mom. And, like, it's so funny because I think she would literally probably talk to them about so many other things that when she finally asks Shuggie outright, like, do you think a boy will ever love me? She's like, oh my God, finally, I thought that had passed you by or something. So clearly they were having conversations that were not dealing with boys. Although I guess part of it was her dad, but I mean, when your life is so insular as a kid because you only know but so many people, like, yeah, I'm sure man features in what you're talking about, but her interest in boys didn't come until later.
Well, that's it for this episode of These Books Made Me. Join us next time when we'll discuss a book in which a girl bashes a monster in the head with a frying pan. If you think you know which book we're tackling next, or if you just want to talk to us, you can find us on Instagram. We're at These Books Made Me.